What is going on, everybody? We are back with another review. We just finished watching season 1, episode 2 of Welcome to Paradox, and it was called Research Alpha. Before we continue any further, please check the link in the description below. Hop on over, sign up for the Patreon. You'll have full week early access to everything that I release. And yeah, that's that. So, moving forward, this was season 1, episode 2, Research Alpha. This was directed by Charles Wilkinson, written by James Schmitz, A.E. Van Vogt, and Jeremy Lipp, and original air date was August 24th, 1998. I was 12 when this came out, ish. Maybe 11, about to be 12. The cast consists of Roma Mafia as Barbara Cloak, Robert Wisden as John Hammond, Brent Strait as Vincent Cloak, and Shilton Crane as Helen Hammond. So apparently in the future, in Betaville, two men were trying to basically create a perfect human being, like a perfect being that transcends humanity. You had the Hammonds, who owned and ran the company, who decided to do it by technological means, giving upgrades of technological value in himself. And then you had the Cloaks, who it was through biological means. Vincent Cloak had believed that he had found what was called like an alpha or omega, I think it was omega serum, that once you take it, it can enhance you. But he had failed so many times, wasn't working on lizards, they would not give him a human subject, so forth and so on. They fired him. He got super pissed. Decided to inject himself with it. He would become his own human toast. He goes home. His wife also wants to do the same, and he's like, "No, you're perfect as you are," and she's perfect for him, but in technical terms, like she had a limp because something was wrong with her leg, so forth and so on. I mean, she's human. We all are. We're all imperfect beings. So, he gets sick, goes down, and the next day his wife goes back up to the office, and she injects herself anyways. On her way out, she hears a conversation happening between her husband's boss, ex-friend, and his wife, where the wife was like, "Hey, they were our friends. You can't just do this. You used to think he was brilliant and you believed in his work." And he was like, "Well, he was a complete failure. We got to move on." He's becoming rich with power. He wants to be more powerful, is his thing. He wants to be a god, as all humans seem to want to be. And she goes home, and her and her husband end up having to sleep for, I would assume it was a day or two. I'm probably wrong. It was probably just overnight. But the next day, she got up. She was walking normal. Her limp was gone. She was able to run. She all of a sudden could hear things through walls, and she was developing superpowers. Her eyes would glow green. Apparently, we wouldn't like her if she was angry. But no. So she goes back to work, to the office, to get the data. And the guy that runs the company and his wife are sitting in the office talking. He pulls up a camera from inside the office. He puts her to sleep with some sort of gas. Goes down. This is where you find out he's more of a robot now than anything. He gets these little prongs that stick out of his finger, and he sticks them in her arm. And he basically tells her, tries to get information out of her, and she does not tell him what he wants to hear. She tells him what she wants him to hear. When he goes to walk out of the room, she opens her eyes, and they're green, and he puts his fingers into the machine, and that's where he finds out that she completely resisted the hypnotization or whatever it is that he tried to do. He decided he's going to keep an eye on her at this point. So she goes back home. He's still not feeling well. Her husband. Um, she goes back up to the office the next day because she has decided she's going to inject herself with the second dose. Now, she'd just seen her husband in golem form. She realized he was transforming and backing. This is where she found out that he had taken the dose himself. She said she can do something to try and fix him. He was basically like, no, I don't think it's going to be able to work. So like I said, the next day she goes back to the office, and as she goes in, she gets the serum together and everything, and as she's about to go out, she's confronted by the boss guy again, who tries to basically kidnap her. She injects herself again and leaps over everybody on the stairs, runs outside and hides while people completely miss where she went. And she has to go through that process of, before she slept overnight. This time it probably wasn't going to take as long. It was going to need a little time to manifest within her. While this happens, this guy with two guards, or this guy goes to their house, breaks in, knocks his ex-friend through a window, and he lands in a pool where he's apparently supposed to be, what is thought to be dead. He's like bleeding from the back of the head, floating in the water. The wife manages to heal him from across town, just by thought. The hole in the back of his head closes up, and then he gets out and attacks the guys again. They capture him, they take him back to the office and lock him up behind a holographic wall. She then waits for the stuff to gesturize? I'm close to the word there. I can't quite pin with the word I'm trying to gesticulate. No, that's definitely not it. That's hand movement. Anyways, it doesn't matter. She needs to wait for it to mature within her. And so eventually later that night, she approaches the office, but when she does, she transforms into the image of somebody else for this guy. He lets her into the building. She goes upstairs, then transforms into the boss's wife, basically tells her she has to stop, reveals herself, and he was basically like, well, she said, I've perfected the formula, I can give it to him and he'll be fine. And he was like, no, then what? You guys would just run off and try and take credit for everything instead of you working with me. That's not going to happen. And he tries to force her into becoming a more electronic being, or into the machine, so that he can get more information from her. Then his real wife walks in and points a gun at him and is basically like, no, you're not going to do this. He manages to basically grab her and point the gun towards where he's at, and he shoots the hologram, or the holo bubble thing that the guy is being held captive in. It drops the thing down. He attacks the guy. They get into it. He basically gets thrown into the office. The office main boss guy gets thrown into the shield as it restructures, which causes him to basically electrocute himself, and then he collapses. It looks like the main guy, who now completely looks like a monster, almost goes to attack his wife, but then realizes who she is and grabs onto her hands in a loving way, and then gets up to go, or then goes back over to the guy, touches him, he collapses dead. And then as she pulls out, she kneels beside him, and it's basically the two wives that are left, and the bad guy's wife is like, what are you going to do? He's gone. And she's like, I don't want to be. And she injects herself one more time, which causes her to burst into a thing of light and dissipate. And that was the end of the episode. So her husband dies. She takes her own life. The main bad guy is dead. Everyone moves on. And so here's the thing. I love the attempt at a messed up ending. This is one of those stories that would have felt more of a satisfying watch had they ended it in a way that was a bit more satisfying. I'm not saying that I care that the main guy died. It would have been cool for him to be injected, and maybe as a last ditch effort, get the revenge himself as his normal self instead of being a monster. I guess at the very least, it takes place in it takes more of a horror story in that aspect. I think it was overall the story itself was very, very well done. I'm not as big a fan of that ending, and I think they could have done better with the ending, if I'm being honest. I am enjoying what Welcome to Paradox is, though. It's a very sci-fi, almost slightly horror. Um, but yeah, so we'll see where it goes, right? Like I said, very enjoyable, very fun. Um, Probably, if I'm being honest, of the 3 episodes I've personally watched, again, I will be re-recording one of the episodes that I did. It's the technical episode 5. Of the 3 episodes I've watched, I will say this is probably the worst one so far. But it was still enjoyable. It's still better than most of what Twilight Zone puts out, if I'm being honest. Story-wise. Again, set design is terrible, but I'm loving it. I really am. So, with that being said, we're done, ladies and gentlemen. I love you. We'll see you next time. Peace. Maybe. There we go. Bye.